I have got some ghost stories for you.
I feel something crawl into the bed with me and it starts to spoon me.
There was a time where I would be in bed falling asleep and I would hear my name being called. Different voices call my name.
Poof, the person disappeared right in front of our eyes.
And we were both like, did you see that?
There was this figure of a woman. Her skin was bluish and her hands were clawed and her mouth was wide open.
So that is my ghost story.
Hi, and welcome to Haunted AF, the podcast of real ghost stories told by real people. We are your hosts. I'm Julie Fisk.
And I'm Rebecca Black. Welcome to our June episode. June, which is actually supposed to be our May episode. But here we are. We had a little craziness that happened. We had technical difficulties. We had these huge storms that came all through Dallas and knocked down all our trees and power. We actually told the whole story in our pregame, shared a little bit more about what exactly happened. But that's on Patreon. So you have to be a
Yes.
Patreon?
Patron.
Never
Yes.
get that right.
Yes. Speaking of which, we are posting pregame episodes on our Patreon page. So if you're just finding the podcast and you've been binging every episode, we have years worth of content over there. It's patreon.com/hauntedaf. We did go really in depth in what happened with our May episode. And we're going to explain a little bit further. We think it might have something to do with a ghost story.
We do.
That we tried to tell last month and we're going to tell this month.
I don't think I know.
You know.
I feel like it was all the signs were pointing in. It was very crystal clear that story was like, we don't want you to have an episode.
Yeah. And you're right. Everything got screwed up after that
It
for
did.
sure. So anyhow, we have to say big thanks to our newest patrons, Mackenzie Klassen, Melanie Matson, Jonathan Eason, and Panda Crafts.
Panda Crafts.
As long as it's not Panda Crap.
Yes. But that's a cool ass name.
That is. I'm like, is that really the name you want us to use? But
I like it.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Also, make sure you guys follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook as well. We have a website with a companion blog, hauntedaf.com. There's some great merch there. We would love for you to check it out. It also helps support the podcast.
Yes.
You can also watch episodes on Haunted AF YouTube channel. And we need to discuss our hair because both of us have new haircuts, as you may have noticed.
Yeah,
If you're
no one-
watching
no
the
one-
YouTube video.
No one recognizes us anymore.
No, we look totally different. Oh my God.
Well, I'm pissed off though, because you got your hair cut and you sent me pictures. It was a big deal.
It was a big deal. I cut a lot off.
Yeah. And then you wore your hair up. So
I
I can't
did.
really see it.
I apologize for that.
It still looks really good, but I want to see your hair because seriously, last episode, she brought pictures. You brought the inspiration.
I did
pictures.
so many inspo photos.
I know I was so excited about it. And then when you sent me the cut pictures, I was like, oh, it looks beautiful. But you also sent it where I couldn't see your face.
Oh yeah.
It felt like a Tinder profile or something where you were like hiding something.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I'm like, did you get a face tattoo? Like I could barely see, like you turned so I could kind of see the hair and like your nose was just barely peeking out.
I don't know. That's what my hairstylist was telling me to do. She's like, move your head, move it, let it like jostle in the wind.
Jostle?
I don't know. Jostle's a great word though.
That is a great
but
word.
Look at your hair. It's so cute.
Well, thank you.
I love it.
But
I'm
mine's-
not used to it being this short.
You know how it is. You just hit that place and you're like, I got to see somebody else in the mirror for a little while.
Totally.
Anyhow, let's go ahead and jump into the stories. This one comes from Nancy. Hello, ladies. In 2003, I lived in a house that was second from the corner with a great big street light. We had just adopted a tiny kitten, and the vet had us feeding her every couple of hours because she was so small.
Aww.
I need a picture of the kitten.
Same.
Early one morning, my dog Sasha woke me up to go outside and do her business. So I got up and I was heading that way, but the kitten started crying. So I simply opened the door and let Sasha out. I quickly fed the kitten. Then I stepped outside where the dog was, but I didn't see her anywhere. I whispered, Sasha, no dog. So I tried again, called her name, still no dog. Very strange, not like Sasha. Then I saw what looked like a person walking down the street towards the street light. The strange thing is, it looked like they were wearing a white cloak.
Oh, no.
They had a hood on,
No.
and when they swung their arms, you could see the cloth draping down from their arms. I thought to myself, that is a strange thing to wear on a walk. I would agree with you.
think?
Yeah. So they continued walking towards the street light, and then they went around the corner and simply disappeared. I could not believe what I saw. They were nowhere, and there was nothing on the street that they could have gone behind. They were just gone. After the disappearance, Sasha just slipped out from our front bushes like she knew something creepy was out there. I never let Sasha out at that time of day ever again. And that is from Nancy.
I have a cloaked figure story, but they were real people.
What
Wait,
happened? Tell me.
Okay, like morning radio, we always see weird stuff
Yes.
on our way to work, right?
Yes, true.
It's inevitable. And it was like 4:00 in the morning one morning. It's pitch black outside, and there are two people in full-blown black cloaks, hood over the head, eyes, face covered, and they had like their wolf-looking dogs that they were walking in the morning. Yeah, it was wild.
Gosh.
They didn't disappear though. They were real. They were there, and they just were like, "Oh, our dog's got to go poop in the middle of the night."
Yeah, or vampires with their hellhounds.
Right. I was thinking,
obviously.
let's grab a cloak and get outside.
I do think that you should start wearing crazy shit when you're out walking your dogs if they have to go late at night or early in the morning.
I mean, I definitely do that anyway. I have definitely, when it's cold and in the wintertime, I have put together an outfit that is ungodly.
What is it?
Like my husband's soccer coat, it goes all the way down to my ankles. It's gigantic, like 3 sizes too big. And it's got like fur coming out the top. And I will absolutely wear that. I'll throw on some Uggs and wear that out.
See, all we need is a mask, some sort of really freaky mask.
Well, I don't want people to kill me.
All right. Just take one for the team, Rebecca.
Fine, I'll get a clown mask.
I started a clown mask. I love
just
that.
Scared myself. All right, our next story comes from Reba. Hey, Reba. I love that name. This story isn't very interesting, but still shook me a little. I love reading, and I have been a Stephen King fan for many years. I needed a paperback for a plane trip recently and found one of his called Later.
I feel like I've never heard of that
me
one.
either. It's basically about a boy who sees dead people.
Yeah, I feel like he's written that a couple of times.
Probably.
Maybe.
It's a reoccurring thing.
It's like Shining.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, on the plane, I'm reading the book, and the reading light above me keeps going on and off. I didn't need it to see, so when it first came on, I thought maybe the flight attendant had done it when she saw me reading. Nope, she was nowhere in sight. Then I started thinking it had been on the whole time when it suddenly turned off, then back on again, and then off again. I quietly said, "Thank you very much, but I don't need the light on." And it never came back on again.
Oh.
I love that. After we landed, I turned it on myself just to make sure it was working. And of course it was. Keep the stories coming. I love them. Reba P.
So you know that when planes crash, they will recycle the equipment. If
no
there are
freaking way.
Yeah, true story. So I remember reading about this when it was one of those haunted plane crashes, and people had seen like the pilot in other planes afterwards after he passed away.
That is crazy.
And so they did research and found that a piece of his plane from the crash that he was involved in had been used in this other plane, allegedly.
Right.
Boy, I posted this story on our Patreon page a million years ago. I'm going to have to see if I can go and find it, because they say if a part can be salvaged, then they'll use it on another plane, which is a horrible thought.
It really is. Like that should be illegal somehow.
All right. So this next story comes from Nadine.
Hi, girls. I know you love accents, so here I come. I'm French. I'm from Quebec, Canada. So if I said words that don't even exist, or if I misspell some words, that's totally normal, okay? So here's my story. When I was a kid, around I would say 10 or 11 years old, I was living in a small town, and we basically knew everyone in the town. There were like 600 people who was living there at the time. And it's really 600, not 6,000.
Oh, wow.
And there's this old house at the end of the town built in the 30s. And it used to be a hotel since late 60s, I think. So it looks like a Victorian house. So you have a long porch that goes around the house and a set of steps right in front of it. And there's the wooden front door with a large window in it with lace curtains on each side. Creepy for real. I will send you a picture so you can be afraid too, okay?
All right, thank you.
There was a lady in her 60s who was living there by herself. So no husband, no kids. She had no car too, no nothing. So my bestie and I, we kind of like to spy on people. So one afternoon, we went for a walk, and the plan was to check around this house, see if we can see creepy stuff, because this house always scared us a little bit. And believe me, we've been served, okay? So we arrived in front of the house, and there was no car, no lights, no movement. So there was nobody there, we assumed. So we decided to take a look around, So at the bottom of the stairs, there was an old stone, and we went to check what was writing on it. So we are both there checking at this sign, and suddenly my friend yelled at me, "Look at the window!" When I looked, there was this very old lady that we had never saw before, with a long face, and she was staring at us with a blank expression on her face. And what was wrong with her is that she was pale like the curtains. So no colors at all, and we could see through her.
Oh,
We ran the hell out of there.
Yeah.
The fact that we both saw the same thing that day is kind of creepy to me. And I always kept an interest for this house. So back in December 2023, I was in my parents' house, and my dad called the man who was living just in front of this house because I wanted to go there to buy a painting. Because remember the lady I told you before? She passed away in 2021, and she was an artist. So since it's a small town, the guy have a key to maintain the house. So since she passed away, no one's living there anymore. So when we arrived, I was super excited. And when he opened the door, the guy told me, "Don't worry, there's no ghost here." So yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it was my spooky story, girls. So merci, Julie. Merci, Rebecca.
Oh,
Thank you, Nadine.
You can talk French to me all the
No,
time.
I love it. I love it. And so Nadine sent a picture of the house. It is spooky as hell. We'll
Of
share
course
that
it
picture.
is.
She also sent a picture of the painting that she bought,
Yeah.
which I thought would be like spooky or weird.
But
and
no, just
it's
a normal, beautiful
super
painting.
lovely.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. Our next score. Okay, so our next one, this is from Scott. I recently found your podcast and I love it. I have always had a lot of love for the supernatural and have often seen, heard, and felt things. My Nana told me it is a gift that runs in the women in our family and that I'm the first male who has it. Ooh, that's awesome. So I lived with my grandparents for a while, and every night my grandpa, who I called Gramps, would come to the door of my room. He would take a big drag off his cigarette. I can picture this and say, "Good night, Scotty boy. I love you." And then blow smoke rings. How cool.
I love Gramps.
Scott says he was the coolest. Absolutely. So fast forward, my Gramps died.
Aw.
It crushed us all.
Oh.
A few hours after his funeral, I heard my Nana crying. So I went to check on her. She said, "I just saw your grandfather standing at the end of my bed, looking at me and smiling."
Oh.
I was a little freaked out, so I went back to bed, and a bit later also saw him standing by my room, blowing big old smoke rings.
Dang.
I ran to my Nana's room, and she said, "Yeah, I saw that too." So we decided to get up and head downstairs, but when we got there, we found a Suzy Q's sitting on the coffee table. See, Suzy Q's were my Gramps' favorite snack. He'd sit in his lazy boy and eat them while watching the news. Nana said, "Did you do that?" And I said, "Of course not, Nana." So we sat up and talked about him all night, crying and laughing, which really helped us both. Regards and happy haunts, Scott.
Oh, Scott, I love it.
That is so sweet.
Okay, so if you find a ghost snack sitting out like that, do you eat it or do you leave it?
I mean, I feel like Gramps would want you to eat it.
You got to hope, because if you do eat it and he's pissed about that,
Right.
then that could be problematic.
Also, what is a Suzy Q? And can you send us some?
I know. Let's look it up. I bet
Okay.
it's like a ding dong.
That's literally what I was thinking. Some sort of like chocolatey cake with filled goo.
With the cream on the
Cream.
inside.
Oh, that cream is
Yeah,
so good.
Now I need one. All right, this next one comes from Jen. Hi, Julie and Rebecca. I love your show and I love your friendship.
Oh.
I don't have any ghost stories of my own. That is why I'm always asking people to tell me theirs and why I have listened to your show from the beginning. I was wondering if there are any other people out there like me who have listened from the beginning and they fill in Rebecca's end of show, aw, in their heads when Julie tells her she's coming back to haunt her, like in the
Aw.
early seasons.
Yeah.
I do every single time. I miss it. Love you guys, Jen. Oh my gosh. Now I'm going to have to go and pull that up and listen to it again.
I know. I love that. That's so sweet of her to do that. That makes me feel really good.
That is really sweet. It's better than the thing that I noticed every single episode in this new one. Here's something for y'all to listen for.
Oh no. What
In
is it now?
In the new intro, when I made the new intro and I was pulling all the audio clips from different ghost stories, at one point my mic was up and I did not realize when I was editing this stuff. And so you hear me like hit my mic.
I've never noticed that though.
Oh, I do every single week. I
That's
hear it. I'm
funny.
like, damn it, I do. Because it's really hard to make the intro, which is why I have not made a new one in like over a year and a half now. But yeah, it's right there around the point when the guy goes, "Did you see that?" And
I'm
you're
gonna
just-
have to go listen now. Hey, anything is better than people talking about my weird noises.
Oh yeah, that's it.
No, that's just my weird crackling noise that comes from.
It's like y'all are demons. It's like, no, we're just scared.
All right, our next story comes from Miracle. Yep, that is her real name. I love
Yes.
it. Hi, ladies. I love your podcast and everything ghostly. I have some ghost stories for you. My husband and kids spent some years off the grid in the middle of nowhere in Colorado. I'm like, man, dreams.
Yeah, I'd do that.
Same. The property is an old homestead and has a not too wonderful history. Well, one day my oldest daughter came running into the house asking what I needed. I said, nothing. Why? She said they heard me call her name. My 4 kids were all hanging out in this little patch of oak trees they called Blueberry, which was not that close to the house.
Wait, I wonder if there were actual blueberries there, or if that's just a kid thing.
I think it's just a kid thing.
Okay.
I guarantee it is.
I bet it is too.
Why do kids do that?
I don't know. My oldest, when she was little, would name everything after food. We had Halloween decorations. There were these huge spiders, and they were named like strawberry and yogurt, like nothing terrifying.
You're right.
Yeah, named after food.
It's so funny. Another time, my kids heard a little girl call out mama. Another incident happened only to me. I was alone in our bunkhouse, and it was early in the morning, and my husband had already left for work. So our house was tiny, and it was just me in my room with the dogs. No one else in the main house. I was sitting at my desk reading my scriptures, and I heard the front door open and a hello. So I grabbed my gun and I ran out into the living room, and no one was there. The front door still shut. There was no one outside, and we didn't live where someone could walk in. Totally freaked out. Well, that's my ghost story.
So Miracle did send some pictures of their house, and it's just this like, it's almost like
Teeny-tiny,
it's teeny tiny
one
but
room type
yeah,
of house.
totally haunted. You look at it, you're like,
It's
oh
gotta
yeah,
be.
yeah, because a ghost would be like, this is too small, damn it. Ah,
I'm cramped in here.
mama. Yeah.
Jeez.
But my favorite part, she has this picture of a bull leaning into the house. And I was like, what is that? She was like, well,
trained.
that's our bull who ate waffles.
How
So-
cute is that?
I know they had a bull that was just like their pet, and he would come over and lean into the window to eat breakfast with. Isn't that the sweetest
Yeah,
thing?
I have always wanted a cow as a pet. Is that weird?
No, not at all.
Especially those furry ones that are like they're fluffy looking.
Yes.
Oh, I want one so bad.
All right. So this is Heidi's story. This is the
This is the
story.
one.
This is the one that screwed us up last week and gave us technical
Wait,
difficulties.
should we say a please,
Uh,
Scott?
Please, Scott,
if you
do
are
not-
watching over us.
Here we go.
Hi, Julie and Rebecca. Heidi here from Canada. Longtime listener, first time ghost storyteller. This is my one and only ghost story. Now, you may think as you're listening to it, this is kind of woo woo and you're going to just want to dismiss it, but don't. I promise you, it gets good at the end. All right. So I've been working at this Canadian museum for 20 years, and I was trained right from the get-go on some of our public programs for visitors. And some of them take place in this particular theater. It's got rounded walls and a rounded ceiling and curved hallways to go in and out of the theater. And I promise you, this is significant later. And this theater had a reputation for the glitchiest equipment. When I started, it was analog equipment. So things like slide projectors would freeze. Videotapes wouldn't play, sound equipment would fritz, and computers that ran the queues would just crash. Nobody knew why this kept happening over and over and over again. So this went on for years. They replaced the equipment with state-of-the-art new stuff. Tens of thousands of dollars later, state-of-the-art sound system, digital projector, 4 new hard drives to run everything. It's still glitched. So me with my overactive imagination combined with my love of ghost stories was thinking, could it be that there's a ghost in this theater? So I asked a friend of mine who says he can see and communicate with ghosts. Is it possible? And he said, yes, it could be that there was a spirit attached to a visitor that came in for a program, and then the ghost got trapped in there. And I said, what, trapped? He said, yeah, apparently ghosts have a hard time getting in and out of rooms that are circular. Who knew? It's a ghost thing. Anyway, I thought, can I communicate with it? So I waited until after one of my shows, and I just went into a meditative state and opened my mind to whatever impressions would come in. Sure enough, I started sensing that there was someone in the corner to my right. Now, I know this is a round room, but there was a corner where the old control booth wall met the outer wall. I got the impression of someone sitting on the floor, knees up, arms on their knees. A male, early 30s maybe, introverted, not happy about being disturbed, wanted to be alone. And the name Scott popped into my head. I can't explain why, but there you go. So I just took to calling him Scott. And I thought it couldn't hurt to be nice to Scott, and maybe he would be nice to me and let me do my shows undisturbed. So I started greeting him when I'd come in to set up, and I would thank him at the end of my programs after everyone had left, of course. And I didn't keep records, but I have the impression that I was having more glitch-free shows than my colleagues. Well, fast forward a number of years, and my colleague Alan is telling a story about a curious thing that happened to him that morning. He had done a show for 5 and under kids. He was having a conversation with one of the mothers, and her 5-year-old boy was in the room with them. No one else was there. And then the boy starts pulling at his mom's pant leg and going, "Mom, mom, 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 mom," trying to get her attention. She finally stops talking to Alan and she turns to her son and goes, "What?" And the boy goes, "Who's that man over there?" And he was pointing into the corner where the control booth wall meets the outer wall. The mom goes, "There's no one there, honey." And the boy goes, "Yes, there is. There's a man. Who is that man? What's he doing there? He's sitting on the floor with his knees up and his arms on his knees." And at that, I went, "Oh my God." And I told Alan my story. And everybody else at the lunch table was freaking out. We all had our minds blown. So I'm no psychic, but I sensed a ghost. And a 5-year-old boy validated it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's my ghost story. Thank you so much, Julie and Rebecca. Keep up the good work. I love what you're doing. It's so much fun. Take care. Bye.
So Heidi, be nice.
I know.
Yes, be nice.
Sorry, I forgot.
So last month,
We're not even kidding you, Heidi.
yeah, when we aired Heidi's or recorded Heidi's story, because we did get this far.
Yeah.
All of our equipment shit the bed.
Literally all of it.
Yes.
Like we have no audio, we had no video, we had nothing.
We spent 3 hours trying to retape. Nothing would save, nothing would work. At one point, I went back and looked at the audio that we had, and there was a point where it was Rebecca and I repeating each other over and over and
like
over
a glitch.
Like a
that
glitch.
Scott caused.
Yes. And I remember, and I was just losing my mind. I was losing my mind over it. And Rebecca said, "It's Scott."
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
No way. I mean, that's not a coincidence. It can't be. If it is, it's too freaking perfect.
Yeah, and it went beyond this podcast.
Absolutely.
Like I was working on other podcasts here that would not work. All these other glitches and issues happened. And so we are really just crossing our fingers this time.
Praying to Scott. I think it's weird that I say praying to Scott.
Well, just
let it go through today.
Just let it happen. Let's double check. Let's see. Are we still?
I still see things moving.
It looks like we're still
up there.
Okay, Scott, fingers crossed.
Please, Scott.
And Heidi, you have to let us know. Are you still there? And if anything is glitching there anymore, because if not, it's because
it's come here.
It's come here.
Yeah.
So we need to talk about something that I posted recently on all of our social medias, and I'm going to share it on the companion blog. We'll put it in YouTube as well. The photos were from Venzone. This is a community in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And the post that I originally posted or shared said, "The people in the village of Venzone live a normal life with their mummies. They drink tea with the mummies, eat and go to church together. They even sleep with them. To them, the mummies are not gross or strange, but their ancestors who lived in the village a long time ago."
It's like an emotional support mummy.
Yes, why not?
Or a stuffed animal or a blankie that you take everywhere with you.
That just occasionally a limb will fall off.
Right.
You know?
Or an eye might pop open. Can you imagine? Like you're asleep and you roll over and grandma's like, "Hey."
Y'all got to go look at these pictures.
They're
So
amazing.
this is why it happened. In the 14th century, the Black Death swept Vinzone. Many people died, but there weren't enough cemeteries to bury all the bodies. So they
That's
put
sad.
42 of the bodies in a coffin. That is really sad. And stored them all in the chapel of San Michael. 300 years later, which was 1647, the chapel was going to be rebuilt. So the coffins in the basement had to be moved. Someone opened the coffin, though, which is weird in itself.
I mean, wouldn't you have looked?
I
would
I
have.
know you would have.
Obviously,
I know.
I just love death.
But they found that 42 of the bodies were
Oh my
mummified.
gosh.
So mummification had not been discovered at this point in time. And they were like, whoa.
It has to be an accident of some sort.
Well, they thought that God had sent their ancestors back to them to protect the village. So after that, the mummies were treated like elders in the village, and it remained that way until 1950. So
wow.
This is what happened in 1950. This is my favorite part of the whole story. No one knew about this tradition because the town was isolated from other cities until one day an American photographer named Jack Burns was lost in the Alps and he needed a place to stay for the night. So Jack found Vinzone and he just walks into the village and he sees an old man drinking tea with a mummy.
Can you imagine? I like, what the hell is going on here?
When you see these pictures, I mean, I literally just like fell out the first time I saw it. I had to just look all of this up because it's unreal.
And then, like, the crazy part though is like it's totally normal to them.
Yeah,
like they've been doing it for so long that nobody questions it. It's normal. We all grew up this way. Why would you question?
Why would it be weird?
Right.
And you can see they love them.
Obviously.
Okay, so he takes pictures of the villagers with their mummies, which were subsequently published in Life magazine, and then everyone freaked out.
Of course they did.
So people started wondering how the mummies became naturally mummified because you had to usually remove all the organs and, you know, there's the embalming stuff, but none of that happened. So some studies think it could have something to do with the type of mushroom in that region.
Okay.
That makes me think of The Last of Us, though. You know, remember
I have not seen it.
What?
I know. I'm so behind.
What?
I know.
Rebecca.
Instead, I wasted stupid time on that Under the Bridge show.
What is wrong?
I know. I'm sorry.
You have not watched The Last of Us on HBO.
Not.
Are
I'm
you
very
sure the
sorry.
one with Pedro Pascal?
I want to. I know, and I love him.
You got to go home and do it tonight.
will.
Oh my God, it's so good.
I know it is.
I'm almost jealous that you get to experience that for the first time. Oh my God, go home and watch it tonight. So anyhow, an earthquake in 1976 destroyed most of the mummies. What's left is kept safely in the crypt of the cemetery chapel now, and a few are put on display so you can actually still go and visit these guys. Isn't that amazing?
I was about to be really sad if they're all like in the closet now. They're like, that guy ruined it.
Yeah.
Took a bunch of photos and now everybody's embarrassed by us. So
No
we gotta
more-
hide these in the closet.
No more snuggling.
No, that's really sad.
What do you think they smelled like?
Oh. All right. And our last story comes from Paige, who says, a little backstory about my life. My mom and her boyfriend were murdered by my father. And ever since then, my ability to see and communicate with the paranormal has just gone off the charts. I would love to share any stories you'd want to hear. Anyway, enjoy the audio.
Wow. Yeah.
Murdered.
Paige, we need all of your stories.
All right. Hi, ladies. I hope you're still taking submissions. I literally just found you on TikTok and I have been binging you the past week, but I have so many stories. But one is from when my son was 3. So this is about 9 years ago. We lived with my in-laws and my brother-in-law, he always said, oh my God, the house is so haunted. They all still say it. Friends would sleep over. They all heard voices, blah, blah, blah. Well, our 3-year-old was in that room at that time. My mom also had passed away when he was about 3 months old, but he was about 3 and he's sleeping in bed. I'm trying to put him down and we're talking and he's like, Mom, you know, in his little kid voice, do not leave. And I'm like, what's wrong? And he said, I don't like the skeleton man. And I said, okay. And I'm getting the chills even talking about this, but he's like, the skeleton man, he's so mean to me and he bites me at night. And I was like, excuse me? And he goes, he bites me so hard, he wakes me up. So I'm like, okay, buddy, like, where is he? Is he here now? And he goes, he's not in here, but he's outside. And I went, where? And he said, he's standing by the pool and he's staring up at the window. He's waiting for you to leave the room. And I was like, no. Like, that's no, thank you. So I like show him to the window and he goes, yep, he's down there. And I was like, okay, buddy, like, you know, you just tell him, go away. You don't want him here. He's not okay. And he goes, Mom, it's okay though. Because when he's really being mean to me, there's a really, really nice lady at the foot of my bed And she yells at him and she tells him to go away. And I knew it was my mother. She is all of our guardian angels. One of his first words was grandma, and nobody in our family is grandma. His grandmother is Nani. Another instance, putting him in bed again, and he's like, you should sleep in here with me. Don't go in there with daddy. And I said, oh, what's wrong, buddy? And it's about the same, 3, 4. Oh, there's 2 men in your room and they do not like you and they are not happy. And I went, honey, I'm sleeping with Chase tonight. I'm not coming in there. And he comes in, he's like, what's going on? And I told him, and he's like, maybe we'll all sleep in here tonight.
Seriously. Yeah.
And one last thing, because I just thought about it as I'm finishing up. So now my sister-in-law and brother-in-law own the house. My one nephew is now in that bedroom. So my sister-in-law came to me and she's like, when Chase was in that bedroom, did he ever see anything? And I said, yeah, he did. He saw a man. He said he looked like a skeleton, and her face turned white. Like, you would have thought she saw the skeleton man. And she was like, oh my God, Noah has been saying that he sees the skeleton man too. Oh. At that point, I was like, I think we need to change the house because I just can't. So that is it. All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Paige.
I love it when there's a confirmation and 2 kids saw the skeleton man.
That is so, but
I don't like it at all.
That's so bad. And he was biting.
I know. Oh, can you imagine those big old nasty chompers with no skin around them?
Oh God, I can't. Jesus.
Oh, I love
Stop.
it. That was good.
And Paige, we want all of your stories, and we have to know: is the other little kid still seeing Skeleton Man? Does he see anything else? Oh my God,
we can't wait to hear more. Guys, thank you so much for listening today. Fingers crossed, Scott.
I know.
Still got this going on.
Scott, let this happen.
And remember, watch the episode on YouTube. And you can find more exclusive content at patreon.com/hauntedaf. And we have to send some big love to our friend Carol McCown, who finally finished radiation therapy. Yeah. She actually sent us a video of herself ringing that bell while wearing her Haunted AF shirt.
Congratulations, Carol.
That's so freaking awesome.
Yes, and she had her shirt on. I love it.
How sweet.
And by the way, you guys really came through with the stories recently. I love that people are still just finding the podcast.
Me too.
That's so amazing. And if that's you and you haven't sent your story yet, please do so. We take them written or recorded, audio or video, but send all that good stuff to Haunted AF Podcast so we can use them on the next Haunted AF.